Welcome everyone. Thanks for tuning in into this month's episode of the Kimchi Podcast. If you don't already know, my name is Matthew Kim and I'm the host of this podcast. Today we're going to be going over the signing and the significance of the Emancipation Proclamation while following Abraham Lincoln. Disclaimer: this podcast touches on some sensitive topics of racism and viewer discretion is advised for those who are sensitive to these subjects. Before we get into the actual signing of the Emancipation Proclamation, we need to dive into the context of the setting and give a little lead-up of Abraham Lincoln's young life. Up until the abolishment of slavery in 1865, slavery was a massive aspect of American society and is now, in present time, a massive part of its history. African Americans suffered much racism from other races, and this created an exponential amount of conflict in America. Some people believe slavery was not right and that it should be outlawed, while others believe that they should have the right to own slaves. This controversy is what started the Civil War in 1861, which was made up of the North, who believed in a strong federal government and that slavery should be abolished, and then the South, who believed more in states' rights and the legality of slavery. Now on to Abraham Lincoln and his life. Lincoln was born on February 12, 1809, in a small town in Kentucky. During his childhood, Lincoln and his family experienced many challenges, including the passing of his mother when he was only 9 years of age. He also received limited education, which forced him to be self-taught in many areas. Despite these setbacks, his first look into politics began as a lawyer. He then moved on to serve in the Illinois State Legislature and the U.S. House of Representatives, where he gained notice for his opposition to the Mexican-American War. Finally, he was elected president in 1860. However, soon after his presidency came the conflict between slavery, which was mentioned earlier. He would end up taking the North side of the Civil War, advocating for the abolishment of slavery, and led the North to a historical win. Alright, enough of the jam-packed information. Let's take a look at the signing of the Emancipation Proclamation. January 1st, 1863, New Year's Day. Abraham Lincoln woke up early to a bright and sunny day in Washington, D.C., America's capital. President Lincoln's day was going to be as busy as a day could be. Among the many things that needed to be done was to finalize the Emancipation Proclamation. At 10:45 a.m., he handed the document to the White House to the Secretary of State, William H. Seward. Soon after, at 11 a.m., the White House held their traditional New Year's Day reception. The first to arrive were the members of the cabinet and diplomatic corps. At noon, the public was allowed in, and shortly after, Assistant Secretary of State, Frederick Seward, and his father entered, carrying the special document. Lincoln was stuck to his duties for 3 hours by strict rules of manners. He could have rushed through the reception to get his proclamation across, but chose to stay patient and remain steady. It was a very important matter that could not be rushed in any way. After the reception, Lincoln stayed in the White House to begin his signing of the Emancipation Proclamation. He was nervous, his hand shaking violently. He hesitated at first, but drove through and signed the document to make it official. The freedom of slaves in America was not set in stone by law. He then said to William H. Seward, "I never, in my life, felt more certain that I was doing right than I do signing this paper." After Abraham Lincoln signed the Emancipation Proclamation, it was publicized and transmitted throughout America through telegraph. Many people cheered and celebrated. However, some were disappointed and even angry. Abraham Lincoln was assassinated on April 14, 1865, by the Confederate sympathizer and actor John Wilkes Booth, who conspired with multiple others. Booth took his chance while Lincoln was attending a play called Our American Cousin at Ford's Theater and jumped onto the stage, breaking his leg in the process right after shooting Lincoln in the back of the head in the president's theater box. Lincoln was not immediately killed, but died the day after due to his injuries. The assassination of Abraham Lincoln had significant consequences for the nation's history. Andrew Johnson, Lincoln's vice president, assumed the presidency during the period of Reconstruction. Lincoln's death also left a lasting legacy for being the cause of national unity and the abolition of slavery. The events surrounding Lincoln's assassination and its aftermath are significant chapters in American history, reflecting the complex and challenging post-Civil War era. Thank you once again for tuning into this month's episode of the Kimchi Podcast. Make sure to check out when next month's Kimchi Podcast episode comes out if you like these kind of informational podcasts. Once again, my name is Matthew Kim. It was wonderful to keep you here as a listener, and I hope you learned something new today about Abraham Lincoln and/or the signing of the Emancipation Proclamation. Oh, and in case I don't see you, good afternoon, good evening, and good night. Truman Burbank.